This is how you properly barbell squat. Use these tips and advice, whether it's you going to the gym on your own or doing strength and conditioning at your school. We need to make sure that we're doing movements properly so that way we're getting the desired outcome and our risk of injury is down. So before I jump under the bar to get going with the barbell squat, I want to describe to you the thought process that we're going to have with our lower limbs. So we want to think about tripod stance. So I'm going to show you really fast. I'm gonna put my feet up here, so I'm not wearing shoes to show you this accurately, but a tripod stance, how many legs does a tripod have? Try 3, right? We wanna have equal pressure on 3 points of our feet. We want it to be equal in the heel, on the knuckle of the foot underneath the big toe, the ball of the foot underneath the big toe, and then underneath the pinky toe as well. So if we're looking at my feet on the ground, if I'm going down, then I need to make sure that the pressure underneath my pinky toe, underneath my big toe, and on the heel of my foot is equal. If I can have equal pressure on all of those points of my foot, then I'm gonna have a smooth path with my body, and I'm gonna be making sure that obviously those knees aren't going way too forward or the butt isn't going way too far back. So when we think about it, if we keep equal pressure on the back and the front of our foot, anytime my heels might roll up, that's obviously not equal pressure, but the issue here is my knees are way too far forward. Same thing applies if I'm way too far back and I unevenly put the pressure on my foot, my hips are way too far back. We're gonna go at the end of this video and talk about how we might use hips back or knees forward to help with some pains that we might have. But for the general population, without much leg pain, we wanna focus on that tripod stance and being smooth through the movement. So when we get set up on our bar, we wanna make sure those hands are even. We wanna get both our hands placed before we go underneath the bar. Once those hands are placed, we'll step underneath the bar, we'll rack it off, get those feet shoulder width, maybe slightly out. I'm gonna turn and face you for just a second. I want us to think about this. If we don't have any hip impingements, then I don't want us to have toes pointing out. When we're thinking as athletes, how we move and how we jump, we're not gonna be jumping in this position. So why should I lift in this position, right? If I'm an athlete and when you jump, and you can record yourself jumping to see how your feet align, if my feet are generally pretty straightforward, then that's probably how I should do my weighted squats and things of that nature to get that adaptation that I'm looking for. So if my feet are straight on here, I'm gonna have that equal pressure, I'm gonna be smooth on my way down, and then I'm gonna pop straight back up and out of it. I'm making sure that on the way down, I'm not rolling forward, and when I'm popping, I'm not throwing myself forward as well. So balance is gonna be key. I'll do it to the side. You can watch my feet if I get them set up. If I'm smooth down, then that pressure is equal on my feet, and then I'm smooth back up. We want to make sure as well, if we're watching on this side of the bar, that we're not seeing a big drop in the bar and then pulling it back up. This is a leg movement, not a back movement. So I need to make sure that as I'm lowering down, I can keep my chest tall, and then I can push right back out of it. When we're looking at these, balance is really key for us. So the feet, having those 3 points of pressure on each foot, is going to give us the balance that we're looking for, give us the control we're looking for, and then I can kind of mirror by listening to my body and feeling my feet. If I'm going down and I feel that shift forward, but then now I know, well, I have more pressure here than I do in my heels, so that's probably an inconsistency that I need to figure out. Why is that happening? Is it my ankle mobility? Is it hip mobility? If we can start dissecting it like that, then we can find the root cause, adjust it so we can get that good feeling of that tripod stance pressing up and out of it. Now, if you have knee pain or hip pain, this next part is for you. If you don't have knee or hip pain, then I don't want you to focus or think about these things yet unless you deal with these things later on. When we have knee pain, doing something in any athletic movement, right? But if it starts to bug us during a squat, we feel knee pain, then by putting more pressure back and not letting my knees drive over my toes, I'm going to reduce some of that knee pain, okay? So in that case, the tripod stance would get a little bit less structured and concrete. I would need to set back into it a little bit more, which means a little bit more weight on my heels, so that way my knees don't drift over the toes, so I stay back and sitting down into a chair. Some coaches teach this as the proper squat form. I'll be the first one to tell you that's not correct. Now, if you do struggle with knee pain, then it might be a good alternative for you so your knees don't flare up and get really painful through the movement. With that being said, by setting back into my squat more with more weight on my heels, I will also see an increase in hip pain. So if you have hip pain, then we need to make sure that we're not dropping back into it and that we do let those knees slightly drift over those toes to be sure that we're not doing any more damage to our hips or putting them in a stressed position. So if we can go normal with no pain, tripod stance, let the leg path follow where the pressure is on your feet. If your knees are going too far forward and you're drifting up onto the ball of your foot, then we know we're not in that tripod stance, and same vice versa. If we're looking at knee pain, we need to set back into it just a little bit more or change the depth of our squat. And then lastly, if we have hip pain, we need to make sure that we're not shooting the hips backwards in a compromising position, but we're sitting, we're letting our knees drift forward slightly. So for squat form, those are easy tools to use to make sure we're doing it properly. We can get into a lot more detail, and a lot of this can be individualized, but you can use this to kind of see how you squat and what you might need to work on. Record yourself from the side and watch the feet and see if you see any shifting of the feet where pressure might be pushing to the ball of the foot or the heel. If that's happening, we need to adjust that. But outside of that, that's all I have for squat form. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you want more advice and ideas on training anything, to ideas, topics, ways that you can be better at what you do, or more form videos, let us know in the comments below. Tell us exactly what you want to see. We'd love to make these videos for you. Have a good one. We'll see you next time. Peace.